Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shandavadi Pastachade Shatari Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namani Shri Varshavani Devi Daitaya Kripakte Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhurojjala Premadya Shri Rupanu Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastite Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dina Karane Rupanu Gaviradhapa Siddhanta Dvantaha Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito Gododeye Pushpavanto Chipro Sando Tamonto Vande Nanta Adbhuta Shayam Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhum Nichopi Yat Prasada Chad Bhakti Shastra Purvaka Nityananda Mahamnomi Sarvananda Karam Baham Harinama Padam Devam Avadhuta Sharam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannataya Te Namaha Vrindaye Tulsi Devaya Priyaye Keshava Sicha Krishna Bhakti Pradhe Satyavajaya Namo. Today we're very, very fortunate to be remembering the beautiful pastimes and character and teaching, especially the teaching of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Because some of you may be hearing about him for the first time, I'll summarize a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave on the appearance of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. He was born February 6th, 1874. And when he was born, his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, just like a umbilical cord, just like a sacred thread, janyu, giving some indication to his parents what would be the character of his life. And Srila Saraswati Thakur was the answer to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayers, because at that time Vaishnavism had fallen into disrepute, and to be a Vaishnava meant that people thought of you as a beggar, as a low-class person with no moral principles even, and no one respected Vaishnavism. And this broke the heart of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he prayed to the Lord that you please send me one of your own personal entourage, one of your own personal associates, a ray of Vishnu. The answer to that prayer was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was named Bimla Prasad before he graduated from a prestigious college with a degree in Sanskrit and also in astrology. He wrote one book called Surya Siddhanta. I saw that copy of that book. I don't have a background in maths at all, but even for someone who does, would be bewildered by the complexity of his presentation. He was a genius in every way. Even when he was 7 years old, 5 years old actually, he was initiated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, gave him Harinam and gave him a self-manifested Kurma deity to worship, and trained him in editing and proofreading the publications that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was presenting to the world. So he was sent directly by Lord Chaitanya to this world to challenge the misconceptions of life. We pray in his prana mantra, Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharana, that he was completely unable to tolerate any conclusion that contradicted the Siddhanta presented by Srila Rupa Goswami, who is our ultimate acharya in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Rupa Goswami means Rupa Manjari, a direct disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who presented to the world the philosophy of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So anything that contradicted the teaching of Rupa and Sanatana, Rupa Raghunath, Saraswati Thakur couldn't tolerate. In fact, there's one story, few stories. He was invited once by a friend. He was paying a return visit. His friend visited him. He went to visit his friend. So his friend said, come upstairs. He's a great devotee. He's speaking Ras Leela Katha. So reluctantly, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went upstairs and began to listen. He'd been there maybe a minute or two. He offered his obeisances, folded his hands, and said, no, this is not correct to present this high philosophy in such a way. So he offered obeisances and left, saying that if I stay here, this is an offense to Srimad Bhagavatam, an offense to my guru. Another time, a friend invited him, and his friend, similar situation, began to glorify Mother Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva. And he said that Parvati is more beautiful, more exquisite, more charming than Srimati Radharani. Saraswati Thakur was sitting in a chair. His face turned red and he fainted, fell out of his chair. Why? In his mind, he's thinking this person is such a rascal, such a fool. He doesn't deserve to hear the glories of Srimati Radharani. But at the same time, he couldn't tolerate such a statement that anyone could be anywhere close to the exquisite beauty of Srimati Radharani. We read, Suvarna Varna He Mango Varangas Chandanangiji Sanyasa Krishnamasanta. No. That's a different one. I'm forgetting the actual shloka. This is a mantra, this is a prayer to Lord Chaitanya. Savarna Malikanchita Tireka Kambu Kantage Tirok. Anyway, my tongue's getting tied. Anyway, Srimati Radharani is so beautiful, exquisite. Who can be more beautiful than Srimati Radharani? So when Saraswati Thakur heard this blasphemy, he simply fainted because he couldn't bear to speak the glories of Srimati Radharani to this fool, and he couldn't tolerate. So these conflicting emotions were clashing within his consciousness, simply fainted. So there it was confirmed. I jumped ahead a little bit. It was confirmed, his divinity was confirmed. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the magistrate in charge of all the activities of the Puri temple. And the Rath cart stopped in front of his home. It was stuck there. No one could get it to move for 3 days. So Bhagavati Devi, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mother, took the child Saraswati Thakur, and placed him at the feet of Lord Jagannath. The child reached out to touch the feet of Jagannath, and a garland fell on him, blessing him. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur could understand, this child is the answer to my prayer. When he was a young boy, he took a mango that was meant to be offered to the deity, because in any devotee home, our principle is to offer everything first to the deity. Even someone brings you cloth or a new computer or something, we should put it in front of the deity and say, this is yours. I'm offering to you in your service. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had purchased some beautiful, ripe, juicy mangoes. And the child, 3-year-old child, took one and began to eat it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mildly rebuked him and said, this mango is for the deity. This is for Krishna's pleasure. This is an offense to take something before it's offered to Krishna. So his whole life, even in his 60s, his disciples would bring him mango and he would say, no, I cannot eat. I am an offender. This is the strength of will, just the raw grit, strength of will of this great devotee, thinking, I made an offense. So from his childhood, there's no offense for a child. They don't know. But he took it so seriously that his whole life, he never took mango. Another time, Srila Prabhupada was sitting with his godbrother, Odbihari Kapoor. His Diksha name, Adikeshava Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother. So they're sitting with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And Odbihari Kapoor's wife, his young, attractive wife, was there. By age calculation, Saraswati Thakur was like a grandfather. And the girl asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, that I want to speak with you. And Srila Saraswati Thakur said, yes, speak anything you like. She said, no, I want to speak with you privately. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur answered, said, I am a sannyasi, and I cannot speak with a young woman in a private place. If you want to say something, you say it here with your husband and with his other devotees present. So his whole life, so strict, so enormously strict in every aspect of his life. If we have time, I'll also read his regulations for living in the temple. You can't imagine. It would make most of our brahmacharis shudder to read these regulations he imposed on the Matavasis, devotees living in the temple. So book distribution was very, very dear to him also. Some devotee offered a large donation, and he used that money to build a very beautiful marble temple, Bagh Bazaar Temple in Kolkata. But he said that I would prefer that to sell the marble and print some books. He mentioned this to Srila Prabhupada, and of course Srila Prabhupada took note. Because when the temple came, then the trouble started. Who will be in charge? Who will occupy this room? Who will occupy that room? All the trouble started when they built the big temple. So Saraswati Thakur said, better we sell the marble and print some books. Book distribution was very dear to him because he could understand the power of book distribution. And if we examine historically the power of book distribution that Saraswati Thakur and our Srila Prabhupada emphasized, that's there for a reason. Christianity, for example, was unknown until the printing press was invented. And when they began to print and distribute the Bible, then Christianity took off. It was unknown before the invention of the printing press. Similarly, communism, before they started to print and distribute their literature, communism was an unknown philosophy, point of view, political philosophy. So book distribution has great, great power, and it was very, very dear to Srila Saraswati Thakur, who instructed Srila Prabhupada at Radhakund. They're walking together, and Prabhupada took these instructions so seriously. We read in Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuranandana, bahushaka hyanantasta. Typically, people become bewildered by many, many points of view, many responsibilities, things going on in life. Prabhupada had fixed consciousness his whole life, book distribution, because his Guru Maharaj told him at Radhakund, most sacred place in the universe, that if you ever get money, print books. And what is the result of that instruction? To date, ISKCON has distributed approximately 260 million pieces of literature, unprecedented in the history of any religion, practically speaking, in the history of Vaishnavism, for sure, in the history of Hinduism also, that so many books have been distributed glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada took this instruction to heart. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who commented on this verse in Bhagavad Gita, mentions that the purport of this verse is that the disciple should take the instruction of his spiritual master as his life and soul. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur instructed Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. And Prabhupada was always emphasizing, distribute book, distribute book, distribute book, throughout his whole life. And practically he was whipping us, distribute book, distribute book. And this comes from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a revolutionary devotee because he introduced Gaudiya Vaishnavism in such a way that the world could take advantage. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his other son, was a pure devotee. His name was Lalit Prasad Thakur. And he accepted Siddha Pranali initiation from his guru. And this is his presentation of Krishna consciousness. But who is this for? Siddha Pranali means when the guru identifies your eternal identity in Krishna Lila, your dress, your family, your service, your home, your name, all different aspects of your eternal Siddha Deha, your eternal identity in the kingdom of God. Now, who is that for? Who can do that? Unfortunately, there's considerable cheating that goes on in this regard. Even one unfortunate ISKCON devotee met some of these. It's a bona fide process, but it's been exploited and misrepresented. And one of our devotees, way back when, was told by one of these cheater Babajis, not that all Babajis are cheaters, but this particular one was, and they told him, your Siddhadeha is that of a peacock. You are a peacock in Goloka. And we found him in a closet practicing being a peacock. And he was in the closet going, roar, roar. He's trying to make a noise like a peacock, trying to practice his Siddhadeha. This is all bogus. Another time, 30 people went and took this Siddha Pranali, initiation. And they began talking amongst themselves. Said, well, my name is so-and-so, and your name is that? And someone said, that's my name too. That's my name too. They all got the same name. So much cheating goes on. So it's a bona fide process, but this is esoteric process for persons who are highly advanced, who come to the stage of Bhava, who can appreciate and actually taste and touch one's spiritual identity. Spiritual life begins. Brahmabhuta prasannatmana sochatina kankshati samasaveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate puram. Bhakti begins from self-realization. Brahmabhuta, understanding oneself to be different from the material body. Prasannatma, always happy. No sochati, no kankshati, no lamentation, no hankering, no material desires, no lamentation, friendly to the whole world. Samasarveshu bhuteshu, sees the whole world as his friend. Mad bhaktim, Krishna says, my bhakti, labhate param, begins from that. They want to jump over this and talk about Siddhadeha and Manjari Bhav and way beyond their adhikar to understand. So because it's esoteric process, it's internal process, it requires qualification. The masses of people cannot take this. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur crafted a system that can be applicable throughout the world. He gave the saffron cloth, danda, gave initiation, Harinam Diksha, Gayatri Diksha to devotees of any caste and any creed, regardless of birth, regardless of social character, regardless of economic position in society, doesn't matter. He simply gave mercy. Let everyone take part. I'll give you a practical example of this. My wife and I, before we left Colorado, one of the last things we did on New Year's Eve, you're all living in America and you know what New Year's Eve is. In America, everyone goes out and drinks. So we went downtown with 15 other devotees on Harinam to the downtown Denver strip mall. And there was 40,000 people on the mall. About 39,000 of them were drunk. So we're doing kirtan and people were coming and loving it. They're raising their hands and Hare Rama, Krishna Rama, Rama Krishna, Rama Rama Krishna, Hare Hare. They didn't know the mantra, but they're chanting and dancing, and they joined Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan party. Their whole life has benefited. This is the perfection of our life. If they don't do anything else their whole life, they join Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan party. The point is, anyone can take up the chanting of Harinam. Anyone can join Sankirtan party. Anyone can take this easy process that was given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the exoteric. Exoteric means external. Putting a tilak, wearing your hair, dhoti, kurta, sari, choli, like this. This is exoteric, a culture of Krishna consciousness, not an internal culture that is only for high-class, practically speaking, self-realized persons that are very, very rare. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, out of his mercy, crafted a society, Gaudiya Math, to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And Srila Prabhupada understood it very, very perfectly and took that knowledge that he received from Saraswati Thakur. And for this reason, and for this reason alone, devotees in Africa are chanting. devotees in China, in America, in Mexico, in Australia, in Europe, in all over the world. They're here in Mayapur. I was just at a wedding today, and there's African devotees there. There's Chinese devotees there. This is Mayapur. This is the contribution of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, crafting a society that is applicable, a process that is applicable in any circumstance, in any country. Any type of person can take it up, be benefited, and at the end of life, go home back to Godhead. So the whole world owes a great debt of gratitude to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. There's another nice story about the Maharaj of Bharatpur. Bharatpur is just south of Vrindavan. And the Maharaj of Bharatpur was in Radhakund with his family. And they were doing Dandavat Pranam. They're doing full Shastanga, Dandavat Pranam, and placing a stone. Then getting up, doing Dandavat Pranam, placing a stone. And this way they're doing parikrama around entire Radhakund. So one of Srila Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur's disciples, said, Srila Prabhupada, this family has so much devotion for Radharani. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, actually, we have different vision. They're thinking they want to worship Radharani because she is dear to Krishna. He said, we worship Krishna because he's dear to Srimati Radharani. This is an important thing to understand. Because we're followers, ultimately, of Srimati Radharani, who is giving this ecstasy, Hladini Shakti, distributing Hladini Shakti in the form of the holy name, Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. So this is the distribution of Krishna consciousness that is going on, going on all over the world, with the grace of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And this is most unusual, esoteric understanding that is simply unavailable. Most people consider religion to be, you go to the church, the mandir, the masjid, the gurudwara, the synagogue, and you fold your hands and you ask God for stuff. I need a car, I need a home, a husband, a wife, a kid, a raise, some money, health, wealth, prosperity, name and fame. And they pray to God, and when they get it, they forget about God. Srila Prabhupada tells a story of during World War II, all the mothers and wives and sisters and cousins went to the church and they prayed to God, please send our husband home, our father, my brother, my nephew. Please send these men home safe and sound. Please, my dear Lord, please do this for us. But when they didn't come home, when they were killed in the war, they became atheists because they think God is their order supplier. Even this has infiltrated Sanatana Dharma. It's pious to worship God for the fulfillment of material desire, but you'll never get bhakti and you'll never qualify to enter the kingdom of God until you come to the stage, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamayi. Mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktir ahaituki. Ahaituki bhakti is the key to qualifying ourselves to enter the kingdom of God. And even has come to Sanatana Dharma. They do the Satyanarayan Katha. Even some devotees are doing also. This is unnecessary. Balo Shri Satyanarayan Bhagavan ki. Okay, I gave you good, ghee, dud, gehun ka atta. Now you give me. This is not pure devotional service. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur introduced, and Srila Prabhupada introduced, following in his sacred footsteps, the principle of pure devotional service that allows us to enter into the most esoteric understanding of what God is doing in the kingdom of God. Who is he there with? What is he doing? Who are his friends? What does he eat? What does he wear? What is his leela? It is unknown to any other religious system, even other Vaishnava Sampradayas. There's no Radha Krishna for them. There's no Gopas, there's no Gopis, there's no Yashoda, no Nanda Maharaj, no Dhenu, no Vatsa. Just God is on a throne and he has four hands and you're bowing down to him. Varam deva moksham na moksha vadhimba nachanya vrideham vareshadapiha idam teva purnata gopala balam sadame manasya virastam kimanyai. Devotee prays kimanyai. I don't want any other thing. I don't want to go to Vaikuntha. I don't want material prosperity. What do I want? I want my mind to be fixed on you. I want love for you. I want devotion for you. This is an esoteric, most wonderful understanding of God in his form as Bal Gopal, Radha Krishna, where devotee falls head over heels in love with God, who dances with God, who wrestles with God, who feeds God, who wakes him up and puts him to sleep. This is the intimacy of Krishna Bhakti that is given by our Sampradaya, that Saraswati Thakur infused in Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada has infused in us. Our responsibility is to present the same thing as we heard it from them. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was in Sanskrit college, as I was saying, but he dropped out because he could understand, if I graduate, I'll simply become entangled in material life. They'll want me to get married, graduate from university. So he simply left everything. And he was giving tuition to one big Maharaj of Jessore, maybe, I can't remember. And the Maharaj's wife became disturbed because their son that was receiving tuition from Saraswati Thakur was becoming very attracted to renunciation and Vaishnavism and a simple life, not the prince's life of power and wealth and sense gratification as he was being trained. He was becoming attracted to Vaishnavism. So they said, you please leave. He left and he came to Mayapur, where he took up Shatakoti Nam Yagya to chant 1 billion names of the Lord. He took up that yagya to qualify himself for spreading Krishna consciousness. We should take note. It's not a cheap thing to be empowered to spread Krishna consciousness. It took him 10 years. He was sitting in a chatai hut. The rain is coming through the roof, and he's sitting with umbrella in the rain, chanting 1 billion names to qualify himself to spread Krishna consciousness. Towards the end of his yagya, Lord Chaitanya and the 6 Goswamis personally came and said, what are you doing? Why are you not preaching? He said, he told Chaitanya, I have no men, I have no money. Mahaprabhu said, I will send you men, I will send you money. So all these great devotees that came and served Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur were sent by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But amongst all of them, no one did what Srila Prabhupada did. No one could have even dreamed of doing what our Srila Prabhupada did. Now, in Gaudiya month, and we're very happy for this, they're celebrating 150-year anniversary of the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, 1874, 2024. Next year is the 150th anniversary of the appearance of Saraswati Thakur. So we're making a grand celebration. Of course, our celebration will be, we're opening, our contribution will be to open the largest Vaishnav temple on the planet. So they're also doing celebration. And I'm speaking from my heart. This is a controversial thing to say, but I will say it because it needs to be said. That Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is an unknown personality. If it were not for the preaching activity, the preaching program of our Srila Prabhupada. If you do a Google search, do a Google search for Prabhupada. You're going to see 20 pages of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada before there's even a cent of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. He's an unknown personality. Why is his picture? Why is the picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on altars in China or in Africa and Europe and Australia, America, Mexico, Canada? Why is his picture there? Because of our Prabhupada. Because of his preaching campaign, the world knows about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this is a hollow celebration if the contribution, the greatest contribution to the preaching of Krishna consciousness that the world has ever seen, the world will ever see, was made by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Take note. We're very happy. We should participate wholeheartedly in the 150th anniversary. But understand that what Srila Prabhupada, our Prabhupada, did was the fulfillment of everything that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur prayed for, that everything that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed for. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the pioneer of preaching Krishna consciousness in the West. He sent this book, Sri Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts, to McGill University when? 1896, the year of Srila Prabhupada's birth. This is significant. Bhaktivinoda Thakur desired this. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur desired it. And Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, fulfilled their vision. So we respect all Vaishnavas. We bow down to Vaishnavas. We worship Vaishnavas, bathe their feet and drink the water. But we should not miss this point and think that there is anyone that comes even close to the contribution that Srila Prabhupada made. So Saraswati Thakur, he took this vow to chant Shatakoti Nam Yagya, 1 billion names, just to prepare himself to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. Following the advice of his father, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur approached Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj and begged to be accepted as disciple. Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj replied that he would not be able to give Diksha unless he received the approval of Lord Chaitanya. So Babaji Maharaj is saying, let me ask Lord Chaitanya, if he gives approval, I will give you Diksha. So when Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, came back, said, did you ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji said, I saw him, but I forgot to ask, sorry. Actually, he was mildly chastising Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur because Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj was illiterate. He couldn't sign his own name. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was the greatest, he was the second Jiva Goswami. Such an erudite scholar, memorized Bhagavad Gita as a child. And anything he would read, even in his childhood, he would remember word for word in his old age. Such an extraordinary memory. Called eidetic memory. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur approached Gaurkishore Das Babaji over. On the third visit, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji stated that erudition is extremely insignificant in comparison to devotion. So he's teaching, he's taking role of guru, teaching Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is Leela, because we should understand they have their identity also in the spiritual world. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Nayana Mani Manjari. He has his place in Krishna Leela. And Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj also. But taking the role of guru, he's correcting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that your erudition, your learning is nothing compared to bhakti. So he finally bestowed his benediction on him. He took initiation from Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And he told, you preach the absolute truth and you set aside everything else. Make this your focus in life. Don't do anything else. Simply preach Krishna Bhakti. And
Sarvadrk Prabhu, not able to hear.
Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all four of our acharyas. Internet is all right?
Yeah, now it's all right. For a second it broke.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it's India. What can be done? So all four of these acharyas would meet at Swananda Sukada Kunj, Lord Bhaktivinoda Thakur's home, and do bhajan and have discussions, such a sanctified place. And it was these devotees. We prayed, He Guru Jnanada Dinabandho Swanandadata Korunaika Sindhu Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara. that Vrindavana Asina Hitavatar, that the spiritual master of the characteristic of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, our Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Goloka, they're coming from Goloka, from there coming here to bring us back there. So these four divine personalities used to meet and chalk out plans for preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. But the fulfillment of all their plans, the one that fulfilled their desire, was our Srila Prabhupada. There's another nice story about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's brother. His name was Ananda Prasad Datta. He's the elder brother of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he was suffering a lot just before his death. And on the day of his death, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remained at his side throughout the night, chanting Harinam, or blessing him, simply chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And before Ananda passed away, he briefly regained consciousness and began apologizing to Saraswati Goswami, who simply encouraged him to remember the holy name of the Lord. Suddenly, a tilak mark, the Ramanuja tilak, a big wide tilak like this, and then red, actually there's two, I don't remember the names. There's two different sects of Ramanuja, but they were big tilak like this. So this tilak mark appeared on the forehead, became clearly visible on Ananda's forehead. And he explained before he left that in his last life, he'd been a Vaishnava, but had made offense to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And for that reason, he had to be born. So after he finished telling this story to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he opened his mouth and left. So it was an interesting story. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur began full-time preaching, being blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from between 1918 and 1937, basically 20 years, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur founded 64 Gaudiya Maths and initiated 60,000 disciples in 20 years. 64 maths, one for each each anga of bhakti, and 60,000 disciples. Now I'll read, just a few days before his death, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati called his foremost disciples and showered his blessings on all the devotees. And he gave them the following instructions, quote, with the utmost enthusiasm, preach the message of Rupa Raghunath. In other words, 6 Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. Our ultimate goal is to become a speck of dust touching the lotus feet of the followers of Rupa Goswami. All of you remain united in allegiance to the spiritual master in order to satisfy the senses of the transcendental entity of non-dual knowledge. This is important. This is also very applicable to our ISKCON society, to remain united in allegiance to the spiritual master. Whoever you are, rich man, poor man, old, young, black, white, yellow, brown, doesn't matter. Educated, not educated, wealthy, poor, whatever you are, we should gather together and give up all types, because this is the first principle of bhakti, is to give up upadi, sarvopadi vinirmuktam takparadayana nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uttama. Uttam bhakti means first principle. Give up designations. If we maintain these designations, I'm a Bengali and you're Telugu, I'm Maharashtrian and you're Gujarati, I'm European and you're American. This is all bogus. This is bodily conception of life, and we'll never be united based on bodily conception of life. How are we united? At the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. This is an important thing. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is telling them, all of you remain united. He's preaching with his last breath. He's begging his disciples. They didn't follow. So we should take note. We should not make the same mistake in our ISKCON society. They didn't follow the instructions of the Guru. He's asking them, all of you remain united in allegiance to the spiritual master in order to satisfy the senses of the transcendental entity of non-dual knowledge. In other words, to satisfy Krishna, to please Krishna, remain united at the lotus feet of your spiritual master. Do not give up the worship of Hari, even amidst hundreds of dangers, hundreds of insults, or hundreds of persecutions. Do not become unenthusiastic upon seeing the majority of people in this world are not accepting the message of Krishna's sincere worship. And that's what it is. You know, Krishna consciousness is a rare thing. Haribol. Krishna consciousness is most rare achievement. There are millions of people in there. We go out on Harinam, we distribute books, we give college classes, we do Bhakti Vriksha. Only the most fortunate person is able to accept this. Who is Bhagavan Ji, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Who is the most Brahmanda Brahmite after wandering through millions of universes? Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Ji, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Only the most fortunate person after wandering through millions of lifetimes gets this opportunity that we have in our hand, that we have in our grasp. Krishna Bhakti, by the grace of God and by the grace of Guru. So we shouldn't be unenthusiastic. We go out preaching, and who will accept it? Only the most fortunate person. So we're canvassing, trying to find those fortunate persons, and simultaneously trying to plant the seeds that will fructify in a person's future life. So we may become unenthusiastic. Oh, so few people are becoming initiated, becoming serious about spiritual life. But we understand, that when someone comes and takes part in Krishna consciousness, they don't lose that. Neha Vikramana Shosti Pratyavayo Nividyate. Swalvamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahatovya. Whatever they do, Swalvamapyasya, even the smallest thing, is their eternal asset. And if they make 1% advancement in this lifetime, they're guaranteed their next life, they will again make devotees, and they'll take up at 2%. So we're also planting seeds. We should be enthusiastic from that point of view, but not become unenthusiastic, depressed. Why? We're preaching. Where is the result? Result is up to Krishna. Our job is simply to preach Krishna consciousness. So Saraswati Thakur is saying, do not become unenthusiastic about seeing the majority of people in this world are not accepting the message of Krishna's sincere worship. Never give up the glorification of the topics of Krishna. They are your own personal budget, and you're very all in all. Being humble like a blade of grass and tolerant like a tree, constantly glorify Hari. So in the early hours of January 1st, 1937, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur passed away. Interesting thing that happened, that when he left, every clock in the entire month stopped at that time. Mystically, inexplicably, every clock in the whole month stopped. And he said, this is a very important statement, especially for us as ISKCON devotees. He spoke this the night before his disappearance. One of the very last things he said, please remember that our only duty and religion is to propagate the service of the Lord and his devotees. To propagate the service of the Lord and his devotees, this is our only duty and religion. This is our religion. To preach Krishna consciousness, to chant the glories of the Lord and the glories of devotees. Very significant. Now I collected some quotes that are very nice. Let's see how we're doing for time. He said, our supreme duty is to serve the residents of Braj who are afflicted by Krishna's departure to Mathura. Think over this very carefully. Our supreme duty is to serve the residents of Vrindavan, Braj, who are afflicted by Krishna's departure to Mathura. When Krishna left, the Brajvasis went mad. The gopis, imagine the scene. Akrura has Krishna Balaram on chariot, and these delicate young girls, 10, 12, 14-year-old girls, are trying to hold these powerful horses because they can't bear that Krishna is going to leave Vrindavan. When he left, the whole Vrindavan became emotionally destitute. Mother Yashoda stopped cooking. She went blind, crying in separation from Krishna. sitting in his room, looking at his toys, looking at his rope for tying cows, his dhoti, his flute, and simply crying in absence. Govinda Virahename, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed this feeling by his own personal example. Yugayitam Nimeshena Chakshusha Prabhishayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename. Feeling separation from Krishna, intense anguish in separation from Krishna. Now we feel virahena sometimes, separation if we lose our mobile phone, if we lose some money, if we wreck our car and we lose there's some disaster, but then we feel, oh, my car, my mobile phone, my money, oh my God, my money, I lost money. Sweeter than honey, brighter than sunshine, sweeter than honey. Money, money, money. We'll feel viraha then. But do we feel separation from Krishna? We can judge our progress in spiritual life by how much we feel separation from Krishna and how much we're happy in material life without Krishna. But I've got money, I've got position, I have health, I have respect in society, life is good. This isn't the feeling of a devotee. The residents of Vrindavan, the Brajvasis, were afflicted, completely afflicted, anguished, devastated when Krishna left Vrindavan. Now someone may ask, well, why did he leave? Because this vipralamba is called vipralamba bhav. There are two things, vipralamba and sambhog. Sambhog means to be with Krishna. They're experiencing the joy of Krishna's presence. They're dancing with Krishna, wrestling with Krishna, eating with Krishna, playing with Krishna, dressing Krishna, feeding Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. This is sambhog. But more intense is vipralamba. When Krishna leaves, internally, they're more associated with Krishna in their heart of hearts in separation from Krishna. Because separation makes union more intense, much more intense. So vipralamba bhav, just like when Rama, people criticize Rama. They said, how could he leave his pregnant wife? And Rama was running through the forest. Sita, Sita, Sita. Is Rama ever separated from Lakshmi? Impossible. We have to understand vipralamba from tattva first. Understand that Krishna and gopis and gopas and Nanda Yashoda are never separated from Krishna. Vrindavanam pratyaja paramekam nagachyati. Krishna never takes one step out of Vrindavan. They're more associated with Krishna in anxiety and distress and anguish than they are in his direct association. And this is the teaching of the six Goswamis. Hey Radhe Brajadeviki Chalalite, hey Nanda Shuno Katha. Go Shri Govardhana Kalpapada Patale Kalindi Vanye Kuta. Go Shanta Viti Sarvato Brajapure Kedar Mahavibolo. Vande Rupa Sanatano Shri Jiva Gopala. Mahavibolo, they're burning in separation. Where is Krishna? Not I'm with Krishna. Not needing Krishna. Sambho, vipralamba. They're burning, vibhalo, they're burning in separation from Krishna, intensely feeling Krishna because Krishna is absolute. His separation and his meeting, same. But separation is more intense experience of Krishna than meeting him. So this is an important thing to understand. So Saraswati Thakur is saying here, our supreme duty is to serve those residents of Braj who are afflicted by Krishna's departure to Mathura. In other words, to serve those pure devotees for whom Krishna is everything. Because this is what we want. This is the process of practicing Krishna consciousness. This is the process of Raga Marg, to follow in the footsteps of Ragatmika devotees who are afflicted in the separation of Krishna, for whom Krishna is everything, who can't bear separation from Krishna. This is the process that was given to us by our acharyas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came specifically for this purpose. Anarpita chirim chirat karunaya avatirna kolo samarpayitum unato jalarasam sabhakti shriyam Hare Purata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaya Kandare Spiritu Vasa Chaitanya. Rupa Goswami prays like this. What did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come to give? Swabhakti Shriyam, his own emotional experience of love of God. Krishna prema pradayate. And what is his experience? Separation from Krishna. Not meeting Krishna. Separation from Krishna. Krishna, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Gambhira, the devotees were very concerned. He is rubbing his face on the wall, injuring his face. His face is bleeding, rubbing his face on the wall. Govinda Viri, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So they locked the doors, 3 doors, 1, 2, 3, all locked to protect Mahaprabhu unless he runs away. They came back next morning. He's gone. Doors are locked. Mahaprabhu is gone. They found him in the Goshala, frothing at the mouth, and his arms shrunken into his body, his legs shrunken into his body like Jagannath. Why? Govinda Virahe. Separation. Intense, inconceivable, inestimable separation from Krishna. Not meeting Krishna. Separation from Krishna. So our aspiration is to serve these persons, these great devotees, but not not imitate them. This is the path of Raga Marga. That is our ultimate goal. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Pujala Raga Pada Gaurava Bhange. That we keep this Raga Marga, this intense relationship with Krishna. High over, we worship this. We don't dive in. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Don't jump over. We have to practice sadhana, overcome anartha, come past anartha nivritti, be fixed, get some taste, experience bhava. We have to go through the whole process. We can't jump from Shraddha to Prema any more than you can jump from kindergarten to PhD. This is the proposition of foolish people that think they can jump over anartha nivritti, dealing with lust, greed, envy, fear, all these horrible things that drag us. Trividam narakasyedam dvaram nashanam atmana kama krodha tatha lobhyas tasmadi tattvayam tayajat. Krishna says, lust, greed, and anger, these are the gates to hell. If we don't overcome that, what is the question of anything higher? What is the question of ruchi, bhava, asakti? Is impossible. And this is what it means to be sahajiya. They haven't crossed over the lust, the greed, the anger, the envy. And they think just Radhe Radhe. Gopi Bhav, Manjari Bhav, Jaisi Radhe. We want that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give that. But you can't jump over. Step by step. Satam prasangan mama virya sambido bhavanti vitkana rasayanam katha tas joshana rashava varga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. From Shraddha, from Shraddha to Bhakti, everything begins from Shraddha, from faith, all the way to Prema. Excuse me. Anukramishati. Anukramishati means kramena, step by step. So Saraswati Thakur is saying, this is what we want. We want to serve in this mood, to be the followers of those ragatmika devotees who are lovers of God. I'll read some more quotes. The words of pure devotees are contrary to our sense gratification. No matter how pitiless and harsh their words may seem, if we can sincerely submit to them with our body, mind, and words, our eternal welfare is assured. So because we're attached to our body, attached to sense gratification, attached to the mental conception of life, to pride and ego and respect and pratishtha, if that is violated in some way, we become disturbed. How can you can't talk to me like that? Don't you know who I am? Or someone takes away our sense gratification, then we become disturbed. So the pure devotees' words are heavy. Guru means heavy, not lagu, light. Heavy. Guru is a sadhu. Sadhu means he cuts through our false ego, cuts through our attachment, to lay bare our attachment so that we can overcome it. If it's not revealed by the process of sadhana, how will we overcome it? So no matter how pitiless and harsh their words may seem, if we can sincerely submit to them with our body, mind, and words, our eternal welfare is assured, because this is the interest of Guru. This is why we have a Guru, to lay bare our attachments to this material world, to show what is our problem. If no one points out our problem, how will we deal with it? How will we overcome it? So when you go to the doctor, what is the first thing the doctor does? He diagnoses the disease. He doesn't give, oh, just give me some medicine. Any medicine will do. Just give me medicine. No, diagnosis has to be there. This is your disease. And for this disease, this is the medicine. This is the business of the doctor, and it's the business of Guru, to diagnose our disease. Here's where you're attached. Here's where your ego is. And here's what you need to do to make progress in your spiritual life. This is the business of Guru. He made a nice statement here about kirtan. We should think about this very carefully also. He said, kirtan performed for sensual satisfaction is not Hari Kirtan. Kirtan is not to be performed only through melodious musical tunes, chimes, and the like. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has not asked us to be proficient in high-class music and well-practiced in the ears of accomplished musicians. He has asked us to always perform Hari Kirtan. That which is meant for gratifying the mundane senses is not Hari Kirtan. That by which Krishna's senses are satisfied is Hari Kirtan. So sometimes we hear devotees organize some kirtan, and some devotee, he may be very, very pure devotee, very, very sincere devotee, but if he doesn't have good singing voice, no, you can't sing. They want the devotees who have beautiful singing voice with esaraj and tambura and violin and mridanga and harmonium and flute. I make some. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was against this, and so was Srila Prabhupada. Not a popular thing to say, but my duty is to repeat the words of my spiritual master. He said, mridanga, kartal, bas, sufficient. And sometimes Prabhupada played harmonium. Not like you make a musical orchestrated arrangement with beautiful melody and this and that. It's not music per se. The music is secondary. And if music becomes prominent, then we don't hear Krishna's name. Our mind is attached to the melody and the rhythm and the beauty of them, and we forget Krishna. If it's not pleasing to Krishna, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is pointing out, it's not kirtan. Now this is an amazing statement he made here. He said, very soon, 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs means 5 million. 50 lakhs people are coming who will preach Mahaprabhu's teachings all over the world. Sri Chaitanya Dev established Bhagavat Dharma by answering the questions of innumerable philosophers. Moreover, we are trying to solve the questions put forth by the newly concocted unauthorized philosophies opposed to Sri Chaitanya by following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Dev. So this is an amazing statement that 5 million people are coming who will preach Mahaprabhu's teachings all over. And don't we see it happening? It is predicted that the teaching of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will spread all over the world from Mayapur. And to date, His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj was saying in class yesterday, he said there's 7,500 devotees living here in Mayapur. First time I came here, there was probably 75 devotees living here. So this is, 100 times. It's expanded 100 times. It may expand 100 times from today. 7,500 may become 75,000. Maybe 7,500,000. 7,500,000. Who knows? This Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying 50 lakhs of people are coming. And they are coming. Mayapur is full of devotees. It's packed up right now. ISKCON Leader Sangha is going on. Seminars are going on. And there's 1,400 devotees just here to hear and make plans how to preach Krishna consciousness. They're here from all over the world for this purpose, to preach Mahaprabhu's teaching, to go home and preach Mahaprabhu's teaching in their own home. So this isn't some vague, amorphous, unsubstantiated prediction. It's happening right in front of our eyes. It's happening right here in my home, right in my backyard, actually. So this is all possible by the mercy of great souls like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we celebrate his appearance day. It's not a festival of fruits and flowers, as Srila Prabhupada once said. Rather, his mercy is abundantly available on the appearance and disappearance days of such great acharyas. We should take advantage, remember their contribution, remember their personal qualities, read their teachings, and try and take up the mission that was given to us by our Guru Parampara. And pray to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to be sincere servants of Srila Prabhupada and our gurus, our acharyas, ISKCON acharyas, and follow his example. Dharmasya tattvam nihutam gohayam mahajano yena katha sapanta. That Dharma is nihutam gohayam, not easy to understand. But how to grasp it, how to understand it, mahajano yena katha sapanta, to follow in the footsteps of great devotees. So if we follow in the footsteps of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, our success is guaranteed. Don't deviate. If something's not broken, don't try and fix it. What they gave us is perfect and complete. No need to go outside of ISKCON. No need to, everything more than you can, more spiritual substance is available in Prabhupada's books than you can digest in one lifetime, many lifetimes. No need to go here and there. Everything's available right here within our own house, the beautiful house, ISKCON house that Srila Prabhupada created. So I'll stop here. If anyone has any questions or comments. There are other quotes or some other beautiful quotes, but
thank you very much, Sarvadrk Prabhu. Thank you very much. All glories to you, all glories Prabhupada. Okay, Amritanand Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna,
yes, any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisance. All for
I accept mine, Amritananda Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you. As always, your class is so relatable and engaging. Thank you for that, Prabhu. Actually, I have 3 questions, but I know you have limited time and there are other devotees. So I'll leave it to you which one you'd like to answer, Prabhuji. The first one is on the significance of book distribution. The second one is, as you mentioned, glorifying Srila Prabhupada, who brought Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj and prominence, made him known world over. And the third one is regarding Kirtan standards. So I'll ask one and other devotees can ask their questions. And if we have some more time, then perhaps we could cover the other. So which one would you prefer, Prabhuji?
Well, we can dispense with Kirtan standards because it's a whole class in itself. There is a Kirtan standard. Srila Prabhupada showed that standard. And people give seminars just on that topic. But the basic principle of Kirtan standard is to please Krishna, not to play verse. We're not, Prabhupada said it many times, we're not musicians. But sometimes devotees take it like this. I have to play harmonium. I have to play. You can clap hands and have beautiful kirtan. Musical instruments are servants of holy name. Holy name is not a servant of music and melody. And book distribution is meant to spread Krishna consciousness. All our practices are meant. Why do we build big temples? Spend lakhs and crores of rupees. Why do we spend lakhs and crores of rupees printing books? They're not free. Why do we distribute prasadam? It's not free. We use this money to do these things for one purpose and one purpose alone. For that special sacred day when a person decides to purchase a japa mala and take up the chanting of the Lord's holy name. For this reason. Because this is the process of liberation. There is no other. There is no other means in this age. Nasteva, nasteva, nasteva. It doesn't mean nasteva, nasteva building temples, nasteva, nasteva distributing prasadam, nasteva, nasteva distributing books. Harinam, 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 eva kevalam. Eva kevalam. Only this process, chanting Hare Krishna. So we preach the glories of holy name to try and get people to take up the process of chanting Krishna's name. Because this is the process in this age. There is no other. Not yoga, not karma, not jnana. This thing, Harinam Sankirtan. And to educate people, to convince people, to give authenticity to our presentation, we distribute books. That we have a philosophy, it's not made up. This is Veda. Veda has no author. It's coming directly from the breathing. Sakshat, what's that? Sakshat Narayana. It's directly the breathing of Lord Narayana. Veda Narayana, Sakshat Swayambhu Iti Shushrama, Bhagavatam says. Directly the breathing of Lord. So we distribute these things so that people can take up Yoga Dharma, chanting holy name. That's all. Is that okay?
I wanted to ask a question on this book distribution, Prabhuji. It is very sacred. So, but in practice, sometimes it seems to take a, how do I say, not as prominent a position. To give you an example, there's a recent death in my family, so you have to attend the funeral and things like that. I took copies of Bhagavad Gita and distributed it to relatives and whoever had come there. And later on, we also observed this ritual of Sutak, because you're considered quote unquote unclean. You can't come to the temple or do deity seva. And I've been thinking about this, Prabhuji, is the Bhagavad Gita is no different than Krishna himself. And Krishna, in the form of his book, is actually in a funeral parlor. And however, Krishna in his form as Murti, because you have attended the funeral, you cannot come into the temple. So how do we understand this, Prabhuji?
That respect should be given to the book. We can worship Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, with 16 upacharas. Itam Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samitam. Bhagavatam says Purana Brahma Samitam. It's directly the Lord. You can say incarnation of the Lord in paper and ink. But there's no injunction to follow Pancharatriki Vidhi for the book. So it's not that we should disrespect the book, that you just keep it on the floor, you keep it in some unholy place. But the purpose of the consciousness of giving it is more important than it may not be respected. They asked Srila Prabhupada one time, they said, Srila Prabhupada, we distribute these books and sometimes people throw them in the trash. Prabhupada said, they throw their babies in the trash. What can be done?
Mm.
So it's a very noble thing that you took Bhagavad Gita to the funeral parlor, because at that time, people are more receptive. They call Smashan Vairagya. They see a dead body, they think, a thoughtful person will think, that's me someday. This is the future of everyone's life. It's me lying there someday, being pushed into the fire. That's my body someday. So at that time, they're more receptive to the principles of Bhagavad Gita. You should read Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, like beginning, Dehinosmin, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And when I do these funerals, I used to tell the story from Mahabharata. What is the most amazing thing? And the whole audience cringes because they know it's true. The most amazing thing is everyone is going to die, but everyone thinks I'll not die. So it's good. You did a good thing, taking Bhagavad Gita to the funeral parlor. Because you can't bring the deity. Krishna is approaching us in the form of Shastra. But there's different rules and regulations for Shastra than as opposed to the deity. Krishna is in your heart also. Krishna is in the heart of a hog. He doesn't become impure. Is that helpful to you?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your thoughtful, intelligent question.
Okay, next. Thank you, Prabhu. Jagadish Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanur Prabhu. To you and
Dandavat
all glories
pranam,
to you,
Jagdish
all
Prabhu.
Prabhupada.
Jai
Prabhuji,
Shri
I have
Prabhu.
one question like you mentioned about Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj. Before the preaching, he was taking the 1 million Harinam. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told
1
him,
billion.
yeah, 1 billion, like why you are sitting, you go for preaching. So in the similar line, like when we preach, we see the Maharaj position was different. So what I'm trying to understand from here, before preach, we should purify and come into that stage, or we should start preaching whatever we heard, because Maharaj preparing himself for preaching, first purify or sitting and then taking the proper position to go for preaching. So how to understand that when we start preaching, first we should purify, come to that level and go for preaching, like follow the principles and all Prabhupada recommended, and then start preaching, or we can go for preaching?
Both things can be there. They're not contradictory. Srila Prabhupada said about Saraswati, Shamsundara and Malati Mataji's young daughter, 3-year-old daughter. She would walk up to someone and pull on their coat. Do you know who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? We go, no, who? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada said, oh, perfect preaching. Anyone can preach, but if we want our presentation to have effect and have spiritual power, we should also practice. Because anyone can quote, a murderer, a bank robber, a thief can read Bhagavad Gita and repeat what it says. But what power will be there? We should practice, we should have strong sadhana, and we should preach, because we should take preaching as part of our sadhana. Preaching as sadhana. That it's like part of what we do. And as we make progress in spiritual life, we get more and more realization, and our presentation of Krishna consciousness will have more power as we make progress in sadhana. So they're codependent, you can say. We should preach, and that encourages our sadhana, because we're putting ourselves in a situation where Lord is using you as his instrument, and there's no greater happiness. Like, I'm feeling so happy having opportunity to discuss with you, such wonderful devotees. So why do we feel like that when we preach? Because we're being used in Lord's service. We're accepting a position as his instrument. So preach, but also follow sadhana. Actually, this is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. They said Haridas Thakur was ideal devotee because he was a preacher, but he was also perfect in his sadachar. So if someone's perfect in his sadachar, but they don't preach, they don't get the same benefit as someone who's not preaching. And conversely, someone may preaching very nicely, but if he has no sadachar, if he has no sadhana, what is the meaning to his preaching? He can't tell someone, don't smoke if he's smoking. He can't tell someone, you should chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds if he's not chanting 16 rounds. So these principles are there. Both things should be there. Following and preaching, side by side, and it's a powerful combination. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's about it, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your valuable time, Prabhu. Sarvadrk.
My time is your time, Prabhu. I'm Dasosmi. I'm your Dasa. So you engage me in service, I'll be happy.
Hopefully we'll meet in Mayapur someday soon.
Oh, that would be a happy day. I'd be very happy to meet you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
I'll go buy you some rasgullas at Govinda's. Okay, thank you all. Vancha kalpatubhascha kripa sindhuvebhya
Patita Namah Panebhyo Yo Namo Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur.
Hare Bol.
Wonderful class, Prabhuji. Thank you.
We'll have quick announcements. So today evening we have Sunday feast program. Please join us for the Sunday evening program, 5:30 to 9. And next Thursday, this coming Thursday is Ekadasi, Vijay Ekadasi, fasting from grains and beans. And 18th Saturday is Sivaratri, Vaishnavana Metasimbo. So fasting is not mandatory. If you like to do, you can do. And then the biggest festival is March 6th, Monday, is Gaur Purnima, holy, fasting till moonrise. And yeah, a lot of services are there. Please help in any way you can. Cooking and garlands and various services, and distribution of the invitation flyers for Gaur Purnima. 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. we'll have program, Abhishek, Kirtan, Arati. Anyone like to sponsor in any way for Abhishek or the Prasadam, or you want to donate grocery, please let us know. Those are the quick announcements. And you can order Govindas at govindasnj.com. Every Saturday we have buffet 12 to 3. So you can join if you like. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Shubhapad ki jai, Gaur Bhaktan ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Radhe Radhe.